Alright, so this is happening live. Welcome to the Lost Begotten channel. I'm not ready to make a video, but they're not waiting on me, and I wanted to catch this as best I could. Turn Wi-Fi off on our phones and stuff.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't been watching the news all that closely, this is a live video of protests going on in the heart of Baton Rouge. It's been going on since about 6 o'clock, and we are now coming on 9 o'clock in the evening. The police just announced that they are getting ready to reopen the roads, and anybody who was caught in the road would be arrested.
Yeah. So I'm worried about how that's going to go.
A little bit. We've already seen one guy get hauled off in handcuffs so far. Well, zip ties, rather. Zip cuffs. Now, these people, earlier in the day, were in...
Zip Nicotel. Sorry.
They were in the police officers' faces, yelling, screaming, cussing, threatening them. And they just stood there and handed out water. A little later on... Oh, look, there's somebody else getting hauled off. A little while later, protesters started throwing their drinks at the officers as they were coming to try to move them out of the road to allow some of the traffic through. Because, see, where they're having this protest is in the heart of Baton Rouge, where a lot of people have to drive through to get home. Very, very busy time of the day to start a protest at 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
As they would say, the heart of the city, you heard? See, I used to live right around there, on Addison Street.
And this is the corner of Airline and Goodwood, for those of you that are local.
See, CD Man, that's all I ever knew him by, and I knew him before this crap popped off.
Yeah.
Just in passing, okay? Had a long conversation about him, and then he kind of did me a solid, just like in a convenience store, and he just kind of spoke wisely to some kids who he could see were kind of getting ready to give me a hard time. All right. Nice guy.
I can't scooch.
Okay, outwardly.
I'm gonna hurt myself if I scooch you.
Outwardly, very nice guy. Okay. And I feel bad in saying this. All right. First of all, let me tell you a little backstory. Do you have a list on him or anything?
Oh.
But
okay, so I also knew the CD Man, only I knew him by his actual name, Alton, because my sister and I used to work with him about 10 years ago or so. He was always a really nice guy to us. I mean, always really nice, always willing to help, but he did have a rap sheet that was pretty long. He, when he was 20, he was convicted of carnal knowledge, which, I don't know, take that as you will for somebody who's 20.
Right.
I mean,
right.
that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother video. He also had some drug charges, quite a few drug charges, drug paraphernalia charges, intent to distribute. He had a couple of simple battery charges. If I'm not mistaken, he was actually recently arrested just about 3 weeks before the shooting happened. He got released from jail.
Alright, and now what I was going to say is, okay, this conversation about, this is secondhand, okay? I did not see his gun for myself, okay? But me and Nutty One, who I saw on video earlier, actually, this rapper that I hung out with when I lived down there, okay, was up. If you happen to watch this, you might not agree with everything I'm saying, considering that you were out there. But hear me out, please. All right. They're trying to say he just got this gun.
According to the store owner, he got the gun a few weeks ago because there were robberies in the area.
Okay. Well, he used to hang out at the corner of Winborn and Foster. All right. That store owner asked him to leave because he was holding a gun. And as described, we were talking about the way it was described to me. I wanted to say it was a Derringer, but I was told no, it's better than a Derringer, holds more rounds, that kind of thing. But it's just as good, just as handy and convenient as a Derringer. Okay, so then I seen this one guy talking about how you can shoot a gun out of your pocket. Well, if any gun could be shot out of a pocket, it'd be a Derringer type gun. Okay. But
sorry, I'm just checking for any.
That specific detail aside, hands up, don't shoot. His hands weren't up.
Has nothing to do with this situation.
Okay, and the officer reeled back like he was, okay, if you lying back like this, and you got, oh, that really doesn't look right, but if you got, like, not your penis, like, if you have a gun in your pocket, it's going to be facing in that kind of way, right? You're trying to point it up to shoot whoever's restraining you and shit, right? That's what the officer's reaction looked to me like what would have caused that reaction, you know, like from his reaction, that's what seemed to me like went down, at least in his head. And you could hear the heartbreak in that dude's voice when he said, "What the fuck?" As in, what the fuck did you think you were gonna do? Trying to go for a gun. I mean, just resisting in the first place. What the fuck you think you're gonna do resisting the police, man?
Just a little bit of backstory for those of you who
That's why people get shot. White, black, fucking purple, green, aliens. Fucking resist the police, you get shot.
For those of you who haven't been following this from the very beginning, all this came about because there was an anonymous phone call to 911 that described a man standing in front of a convenience store who was threatening people with a gun. And when the officers arrived on the scene, the CD man matched the description. So the cops were already aware that there was a gun. And you're resisting them. And
beware of false audio clips, man. When you hear, and there's been a few of them out there, so I'm not going to name specifics. I think the one we heard earlier was, what, the Wisconsin, Minnesota or something? Minnesota? All right. They got this audio clip of the 911 call or whatever, right?
No,
or
it was the
dispatch call, right? How they got that, I don't know. But, okay.
Oh, somebody, let's see, somebody had a police scanner on nearby while it was going on.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Okay. All I'm saying is that when something sounds cliche, it's so obvious, like that audio tape recording does, chances are it's fake. And the technology exists to fake that. It is readily and publicly available. In fact, there's people on YouTube demonstrating this technology. Okay? You can make my voice sound like a girl. Okay? Not that I don't already. Oh, wait. Hi, my name's Chris. Wait, okay, sorry. You never met that girl in the bar down there? Okay.
We digress.
Yes.
No, we don't. No, decline. Give a shit. Okay.
I'm starting to really not like AVG anymore. Anyways. So, you want to read off your list, babe?
Okay. So, I kind of wrote these all weirded out and out of order. But these are my notes. The notes of science and
Alright, that's enough.
Okay, so this is a list of all the major shooting events that have happened since the beginning of the week. And I know that I heard today that there were a couple more, I think one in Tennessee and a couple other places, but these are the most prominent ones that are being discussed right now. On July 5th, we have our Baton Rouge shooting with Mr. Alton Sterling. Now, as we discussed, he had a long rap sheet. He was a convicted, first of all, he was a convicted felon, and he had a gun, which is illegal, duh. So we've already discussed that one. Let's see, what was next? On the next day, in Minnesota, a black man was shot by an Asian cop. Now, this is the video where the girlfriend started live streaming on Facebook the aftermath of what happened. This is after the boyfriend has already been shot and is bleeding on the front seat. She's claiming that he told the officer that he had a gun and a concealed carry permit, and that the officer asked for his license and registration, and he told the officer he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer shot him.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about that. We don't know anything up until the point after the driver was shot. I'm not going to give an opinion one way or the other until I think more, there needs to be more evidence.
Alright. All I'm going to say, picture this in a movie. Okay? Say Bruce Willis. Alright? Anybody. Bad guy or good guy. Good guy in a bad situation, maybe. Comes out of a building, right? Or, gets out of his car, or whatever. Officer, I've got a gun. Here, let me get you my wallet. Pow, 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 pow. Every time, right? I've got a gun. Let me reach into my pocket. And trust me that I'm going to get my wallet out. Does that just not register with anybody?
Not to mention that...
If you have a gun, let me just... public service announcement for those of you who don't know how to properly behave in civilized society. Okay. If you have a weapon on you, and you are greeted by a member of the law enforcement community, you announce that you have a weapon, then you take your hands the fuck away from where the weapon might be. Okay? If you're in your vehicle, it really helps if, even if you don't have a weapon, show your hands to the officer. Okay? Hey, how's it going, man? Just wanted to make you feel safe.
Both hands in plain sight.
Alright? And you say you have a gun. Registered firearm, say what permit you have, whatever, right? Like this guy supposedly did. Then you await instructions. Okay? It'll be followed by a question. Is it loaded? They will immediately ask you that. And then the officer will decide on what to do, whether or not, depending on how that question is answered.
Usually if it's loaded...
You're going to jail.
Either that or they will...
In this state, anyways.
Well, in most other states, they will disarm you themselves. They will reach in, grab your gun, and put it in the safe.
Right. If you're
compliant,
right,
that is.
Right. I mean, and if you have a record, the officer has every right to put you in handcuffs while they secure that firearm. And they should do that for their own safety.
And by the way, if you're a convicted felon, you're not supposed to have a firearm.
Yeah.
Just saying, throwing that out there.
And man, if you got a gun and your hands are anywhere near it, expect to be shot. That's been the rule since I was a kid in the fucking 80s, okay? You
And this isn't a race thing. This is everybody, by the way.
Right. You couldn't fucking... Since the 80s, you couldn't walk down the street with a water gun. Okay, what makes you think you're gonna just say, I got a gun, and reach in my pocket? No. Alright, now, let's get on to why this is happening right quick. Okay? There is a concerted, conspiratorial type effort to divide and conquer this country, the United States of America. Because if we were united, we would what? Stand. And divided, we fall.
Like London Bridge.
Alright? There is, presently, no real reason why whites and blacks as a whole should seem to not get along in any given area in this entire country. What perpetuates this conflict is an empire called media. It's not a service, it's not a format, it's an empire called media. Read your Bible. Okay? You've been told it was there, the answer was in front of your face, and you ignored it. Alright? And if you want more answers about this, that's what this channel is about. Shedding light on this entire situation. Okay? And for the past 1,000 years, the only reason why blacks and whites have ever failed to get along was because of outside influence. Alright? And yeah, that eventually digresses and perpetuates itself and becomes self-sustaining. But what I'm saying, like, for instance, key factor in understanding the difference between the movement of Martin Luther King and the movement of Malcolm X and Black Islam, alright? And Black Islam, by the way, is what's perpetuating the current Black Lives Matter movement, right? Well, the thing is, we didn't go like, yeah, I would say we. I'm not 100% white, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say we or not. But anyways, whitey, hunky, okay, crackers didn't get on a boat and go to Africa and collect slaves. Because as of 1,000 years ago, the Islamic conquests were taking over Africa. And anyone who didn't convert, that's who they sold us as slaves. And they came here, okay? They controlled the oceans. That's one big thing that they don't teach you about history in general, so that they can keep you from understanding this fact, so that we can move on and get along and live peacefully together and stop even fucking worrying about this race bullshit, because it's nothing. Alright, to me it's nothing. It's about cultural degradation, okay? And the clever ways that it gets done. They need to be understood to be corrected. Anyway.
So, moving on.
I'm done for this 5 minutes.
So moving on to later in the same evening on the 7th, in Dallas, Texas, there was a protest that was going on in support of what they're doing here in Baton Rouge. And the police officers were out there doing exactly what they're doing here, which is making sure the protesters are safe, making sure traffic's not hitting them, blocking off roads, protecting and serving. Now, one guy decided that it would be a fun idea to get on top of, or I don't know if it was on top of the building, but from a high place with a sniper rifle and start shooting, with the goal to shoot as many police officers as possible. In this, 12 officers were shot, and as of this afternoon, 5 of them had died. 2 civilians were also wounded in this gunfire. And the guy who did it was a 25-year-old. His name was Micah Johnson. He got cornered by police, and there was a shootout, and one of those bomb explosive robots ended up going in, and he got killed somehow and all that. And a little background on him. He was in the Army and did a tour of duty in Afghanistan. But also they found out that he had bomb-making materials in his apartment. Nice. After all was said and done. And including more assault rifles and weapons and whatnot. So, they had 3 other people in custody and were questioning them, but apparently there was only one shooter involved in this. Now, my sister and I were talking earlier when I was on my way home from work about this, and, you know, he said that he was angry about the violence and everything that was going on here in Baton Rouge, but you also got to think, he served a tour of duty in Afghanistan. That messes with you to begin with. So you're already a little bit unstable. And I think maybe the Baton Rouge thing just sent him over the edge, possibly. But, I mean, to have a goal...
Plus, look, your obsession, when you get back, alright? If you get that obsession, can lead you to get propagandized by the enemy without even knowing it. You think you're learning why your sense of rebellion exists. Now, your sense of rebellion exists because you're a human being, okay? You think you're learning these bad things about America that justify your distrust of authority, okay? What you don't realize is that you're being lied to. They're withholding information from you. They're giving you half-truths. They're leading you down what I call a false rabbit hole. Okay? Look at this. A lot of people will look at something like this and say, ooh, Freemason. I'm not a Freemason. I like playing chess. But I know a few I knew a few Freemasons. They don't talk to me much in person or directly.
Oh, look, they're standing on
since
things
I've
now.
been doing this channel.
They're standing on things now.
Oh, gee.
Sorry.
Okay, so ashtrays behind the camera. Alright. So in Freemasonry, everybody wonders about this checkered floor. Everybody assigns spiritual meaning to it. And yeah, sure, there's plenty of spiritual metaphors that can be taught from a freaking checkerboard floor. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, there used to be two pillars to the old Galilean, Gaelic, Gaulish, European society. Okay? Now, if a modern person were to go back in time and see how the society was actually arranged in, say, the 500s to 600s AD, okay, they would probably point the finger and say segregation. Okay. But then they would have to take a deeper look and see how these seemingly separate societies within different cities took care of each other with a love and a bondedness that doesn't even exist in the world as far as I know today. Okay? Literally, we watched each other while we slept. Checkerboard. Day and night. Okay? Talking over 1,000 years ago. Something that history claims not to remember. But the Freemasons are supposed to. Whether or not they'll tell you, that's a different story. But the whole basis of this society, you're thinking France, right? That's Gaul. No, most of Egypt, Africa, large swaths of Asia, fully civilized Australia, Americas, all populated, all colonized, okay, before the colonial era. Okay, the colonial era was kind of a war resurgence. See, what happened was there were some conquests from various hordes that by about 1200 or 1300, well before, white man becomes to blame for everything, white man was almost wiped off the face of the planet. Spain, half of France, most of Western Europe, all conquered. People taken as slaves. Okay? And nobody really knows how far it went. And then you get to the time where we're told America's settled. Alright? Well, the white people that came here originally didn't quite come here for the reasons that you think they did. They told you the right reasons, they just didn't explain them to you. Religious persecution, it meant being one of those compassionate type Christians. Okay? That was becoming no longer acceptable in Europe. Because in order to be a version of Christianity that was acceptable by the horde, you had to be basically a right-winger. Okay? Now, like I've said, we are not liberals, but we're Democrats. Okay? Centrist. Okay? I vote Barack Obama and going to be voting very much supporting Hillary Clinton. Now, despite what anybody says in the comments.
We don't care, so shut up.
No. Say whatever you want. By all means.
Okay, I don't care.
I don't
Shut
care.
up.
Yeah. Everybody shut up.
Anybody got time for that?
Weird Al and random chick on the street. Okay. Yeah.
So does this bring us to today's that I'm going to cover?
As long as there's no word crimes.
Nope, no word crimes. Maybe, I don't know, I can't make any promises. It's been a long week. And I've been out of commission for a little while. So brings us back to today. In Baldwin, Missouri, an officer was shot in the neck during a traffic stop. He pulled a guy over for speeding, and as the officer was actually walking back towards his car, the driver got out of the car and rapidly approached the officer and shot him 3 times, or fired 3 shots. In southern Georgia, a 22-year-old made a fake 911 call saying that his car had been burglarized, and when the officers showed up to his house to investigate the situation, he was ambushed. Unfortunately, I do not know the status on either one of those. Hopefully they are doing okay, and our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families. And this is going to bring me full circle to something that has really pissed me off lately, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So, I've been keeping up a lot with what's been going on Facebook, thanks to the live videos and whatnot. So supposedly there's a rumor going around about a purge that people want to do in Louisiana. And this, of course, is based off of the 2013 movie, The Purge, where for 24 hours, no laws apply, and you can do whatever you want, including murder.
That's a really sick fucking movie to be having right now.
Yeah, it really is.
With Russian resurgence and the fucking separatist movements and everything else going on, congratulations on the sick fucking Satanists who fucking released that shit.
Well, the first one was released in 2013, and of course they just released the second one, which is all about during election time, so yeah, great.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so while news personalities and everybody's been trying to say that this is a rumor, while I'm gonna be blunt here, while it may have started out as a rumor, if you look at the repost and go to the original postings and look at the comments, the amount of people who are in support of it, whether or not it was, you know, an empty threat or not, the amount of people that are in support of killing white people and police officers, and a lot of this is coming out of people who supposedly support the Black Lives Movement. Just wow. Like, I have no words for this. You know, I work in the heart of Baton Rouge, and I don't like to feel unsafe going to and from work where I make a living to provide for my family.
All lives matter.
Oh, and that. This bullshit about all lives matter being racist because all lives won't matter until Black lives matter. You're keeping the racism and the hate alive. How do you people not see that? We are all one people. All lives matter. Dog lives matter. Cat lives matter.
Okay. Let me explain to the kids the different level of understanding that you have to reach here. Okay. We were all bullshitted. All of us as a country. Okay. And racism had actually started to get better on its own as of about the mid-'80s. Then it started to take a little bit of a downturn. Then the Cold War ended. Then lots of different things happened. And if you simply list them all in a row, they might begin to seem a little suspicious. Suddenly, televangelist became a dime a dozen. Gangster rap and basically looking like a whore, becoming confused for a pop singer, became publicly acceptable. Couldn't possibly be detrimental to the psychology of developing minds. Okay, right after the Cold War ended, the wall fell, alright? You got a slow, steady build-up changing in our government from centrism to a further divide, okay, climaxing in the Lewinsky scandal and subsequent deregulation of the financial markets, among other things. Let's just say the list could go on and on, but doesn't it kind of seem obvious when you actually take a step back and consider that maybe the Cold War didn't end? They just decided to implement a strategy that involved societal degradation, that involved putting one culture against each other, blowing incidents out of proportion to where statistics seem overwhelming and emotional responses are all that people are left with because the information is overloading them. Well, that's where they have us right now. Got us right where they want us. And I hate to say I told you so, but I've been telling you so for well over a year and a half now. And that's just on here. You know, I used to have like 500 something Facebook friends. Now I got like 300 something Facebook friends.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. Everybody just wants to stick to either being, you know, hard right-wing Republican or, you know, liberal Democrat white guilt, okay? Most white families, that is, most of the people who gave birth to the people that are alive now, that you point at, and their fucking face is white, okay? Their families, even, did not own slaves. Their families, chances are, have never participated in any form of racial oppression. At all.
My families were slaves. I come from a long line of gypsies. Lots of us were killed in the Holocaust too, you know.
Lots of people have been slaves throughout history. Who makes slaves? Okay, not who owns them. Alright? Who makes slaves? Well, there's a book about that. About how to conquer an enemy and take their women and children captive. All the moral justifications that you'd need to feel good about yourself in doing so. And I'm not going to say what that is, because maybe I can not have this video demonetized, because, see, I got this little tidbit. Just, you know, sticking up for the lives of police officers apparently is not advertisable. And...
Ridiculous.
And... Wait, hold on. As soon as I learn how to use this modern technology. That's the second time I've received a message like that. The first time was just a couple days ago, informing me of... Let's see here. Oh, my Wi-Fi's off. How about that? Informing me of 4 older videos that are now not approved for monetization. Okay, there's this thing called censorship by the purse. Alright. And it is considered a constitutional violation of free speech. Just saying. But what I find very interesting is the motivation for this censorship of the purse seems to be to cover Russia's ass. Speaking of Russia, the text on my screen looks backwards, so it kind of looks like Russian. It says, Nitagip the dost ich oh my god, I'm just not even going to try it. Yeah, okay. So, all of these things are like the other, is all I'm trying to say, before I got distracted by how the backwards, upside down writing looked. Pentagon, NATO, Vladimir Putin video, something about Kosovo and Serbians and Albanians. Right?
Seriously?
Right? And what flat earthers and other truther channels don't want you to know. My theories, not anti-government, not anti-establishment, not anti-corporate. My theories, not allowed. People like Eric Dubé can go and repost somebody else's shit. And basically, you have echo chamber upon echo chamber of people spreading anti-government hysteria. But me, not monetizable. See what I'm saying? This is outside influence. They have infiltrated us, and they are beating us and keeping us down on both sides. They are blinding us and keeping us ignorant on both sides. And we all need to wake up and hold hands and sing Kumbaya or some kind of shit, because this is gonna get out of hand. And believe me, there is an empire with a shit ton of tanks, that always has had a shit ton of tanks, that now has a shit ton of landing craft, possibly launchable from submersibles. They've been doing naval and aerial exercises on our coasts for the past couple of years. Okay, this has been going on for as long as this has been blowing up out of proportion. Russia has been surrounding us. This is real, people. I'm not on either side of the issue. Don't confuse me with a Republican or some fucking racist person. Alright? Definitely not a Trump supporter. Okay? But we're all in danger. And if we don't learn what's really going on here, this is just going to get worse and worse. I'm kind of watching the reflection of what's going on.
Sorry, I keep turning around. Okay, I think I saw somebody getting arrested by the cop car just a second ago. That would make
I was wondering what you were looking at.
That would make number 3 that I've caught.
So this is funny. Black and white, right? At war with each other, right? And, you know, like I said, not a Donald Trump supporter. Not trying to promote Islamophobia, okay? There are many, and I'm told a vast majority, from the ones that I've met here in this country, that sounds correct to me, okay? Because, you know, the Muslims I've met in this country are really just secular people who believe in God. They don't dogmatically follow a doctrine, and that's fine, okay? But historically, there have been many religions used by this horde of media that I talk about on this channel, okay? And see black and white? What you don't see is red. You don't see yellow, although this does kind of look, you know, like poorly brushed tooth yellow kind of. What I'm saying is, there are subtle little things, even little games, all around us that have us psychologically programmed to emotionally respond to these things and to empathize with our prejudices before we try to empathize with all parties involved to see objectively what's really gone on. Now, getting back to white guilt, and since I said, where's the red? Okay. Did you know that after escaping basically Arab legions and coming to America, that many post-generational confusions happened when they encountered the Indians here? Okay? See, the reason why Columbus was trying to find an alternate route to India is because if you tried to travel through the Middle East at that point, you'd be murdered a lot.
A lot.
Yes,
A lot,
they would kill you greatly. Well,
many times.
This whole thing that we're taught, it's confusion. It's meant to confuse us. Alright? This could be my little violin, and I could play it for you. Okay, I'm done with this. Ow! Kind of hurt my shoulder. The reason why some people call Native Americans Indians, was it just a simple mistake? Or did the Polynesians have a vast empire similar to the Christian empire before the conquests? Okay, I want you to think about that. Consider that. Because you have very similar structure building habits across a very, very large area. And this country supposedly owes its existence to someone trying to get from here to here by going here. Okay? A lot of things in life are what I like to call an idiot test. That's one. Are you ready to pass it and move on? Graduate to the next lesson? First I thought that was an old Prelude, then I realized it was a new Charger.
Yes, it's the new police chargers that they have in Baton Rouge to go vroom vroom and get you when you're speeding. Boy, they haul butt too. Woo! Sometimes you can't get out of the way fast enough if you're driving down there. I think we're gonna re-up in the roads.
I'll tell you what I was saying about it being counterproductive. Alright. The most effective way you can cause more racial division, right there. The most effective way you can cause more police violence, shooting cops. Okay? You want to go and indirectly kill a whole bunch more innocent black people? May or may not be innocent, right? Innocent overall, but situationally poorly handled is usually the case, right? Like that sniper guy, like these people targeting police officers. You're causing racism.
Yeah.
You ever think about that?
Martin Luther King would be turning over in his grave right now.
Rolling over in it.
Like, just spinning.
And he would say one thing. Did y'all ever stop and think about the way you're acting?
In fact, can I...
If I acted like that, and I have before, actually. I made the mistake of being anything less than perfectly polite with the police one time. And it did not fucking go well for me. Okay? Hoo-hoo. And I didn't even have a ponytail at the time. I looked like a real white person. Who'd have thunk it?
I don't know, the only encounter I've really had with the cops... Well, I've had 2 encounters with them. One was not so nice, but we won't get into that. But the other one, I complied and did what I was supposed to. The guy had a gun in my face. I did what I was supposed to do. Told him what he wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And guess what? Here I am, some 15, 16 years later, still talking to y'all.
Right, like, you ever stop and consider, like, what the fuck has that guy been through lately that made him that fucking, like, just scared and fucking, you know, combative? Okay? If you want the moral high ground, if you want the right to bitch, act like the grown-up. And think like a wise person. Don't respond emotionally.
Right,
When there is logic to be had.
if you're gonna protest, go ahead and protest. Do it peacefully. And by the way, don't bring your little kids out to one of the busiest streets in the middle of the biggest city in your state. Just saying. That's not smart.
This is the area I used to live in, where if you drive around at night, you're probably going to get shot if you're white. Okay, just straight up. I'm not aware of any areas like that where if you're black, you're going to get shot. Okay, you might get pulled over. Okay, you get pulled over looking like me too. You get pulled over with tattoos. You get pulled over looking like anything but the cop in question. And that depends on what the cop looks like. Okay? All you gotta do is look at them like you're paranoid of them. That's called looking suspicious. Okay? I've done it. And I've fucking been stopped. I've been stopped walking. Okay? Been slammed on the hoods of cars many times. Walking my happy ass to and from school and work in my fucking teenage years, right?
It looks like they're trying to get the crowd to disperse. Doesn't look like it's working all that well, though.
No. I was in the middle of saying something and I forgot. Oh well. Isn't he a cop?
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, he kind of looked like Ricky, doesn't he?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he looked.
But yeah, so hopefully this
Bit
whole purge
bigger.
shit is bullshit, cause
Oh, that's a tall dude. Holy shit.
I'm gonna loosely quote Martin Luther King Jr. here when he had a very valid point when he said, "You can kill the liar, but you can't kill the lie." Violence only begets more violence. You can't react violently because you're upset. You can't let your emotions get the better of you. These people, okay, they were calling for the Baton Rouge mayor and the Baton Rouge police chief's jobs before the investigation and all this even started. Now,
Before most people had seen the first video, before anybody saw the second video.
Now, personally, I think Baton Rouge handled it the best possible way. They immediately turned the investigation over to the FBI and the Department of Justice, which was the best thing they could have done, because God forbid anybody think for 1 second Baton Rouge is being corrupt in this investigation.
Mayor's black, by the way.
Yeah, Mayor Kip Holden is a very black man.
Kind of sugar bearish.
Police chief's
All
white,
right, all right.
but
yeah, I'm just kidding.
and I mean, you gotta remember, these are police officers. They have families. They'd like to go home to their families every night too, and they shouldn't have to be afraid to do their job, what they're paid to do.
Last police chief was black, right?
The one before, yeah.
Last police chief was black. This, to the best of my knowledge, Baton Rouge is not a city with a overall racist police kind of problem. There is a cultural segregation issue in this central Baton Rouge area. And man, black people, like, get it together out there. Community organize, like our president would do. Somebody has to lead y'all to the promised land, as it were.
Peacefully.
Okay? Because y'all got your own problem, and it's got nothing to do with the damn police. Alright? It's... I'm not... I don't bring my children out there.
Mm-mm.
Okay? That is a nasty, unsafe, violent area. And there are some nasty, unsafe, super predators out there. And that's what Hillary Clinton was talking about when she said super predators. She wasn't talking about black people. She was talking about somebody who has decided, fuck it and fuck you. Okay? And there's a lot of people out there just like that. They happen to be black. And you know, you go out in the fucking woods around here, you gonna find some of them that happen to be white. But they're spread out and they stick to themselves, okay? And it don't become a fucking issue. Being spread out, isolation causes assimilation. You know what I'm saying? Behavior's better, alright? And frankly, like, okay, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing expecting different results. how many times are y'all going to blame the police and expect anything to change? The best way to progress yourself is to find what you can blame yourself for so that you can change it. Now, white people used to have more of a community in this country until basically religious persecution tore that apart. And what religious persecution couldn't tear apart, people accused of being racist, okay, or suspicious or subversive in some way, like the Freemasons, for instance. And the thing is, most quote-unquote white institutions and organizations weren't white institutions and organizations. They had minorities welcome there, okay? There is no NAAWC, NAAWP? Yeah, you know? Doesn't need to be, supposedly, alright? Unless you look at the past 1,000 years of history. You want to look at a narrow portion of history, okay, stick to that narrow portion of history. We're not in it anymore, okay? If anything, we're back in the part of the history that became before that. We have very real enemies, and they're trying to keep us divided. And let me say this, the Rush Limbaughs of the world, who are the, you know, like the talking head conservative fucking people that want to make it all about one, you know, if one Democrat does, or if a black person does something wrong, it's Obama's fault and shit like that, or, you know, they got to bring Hillary Clinton into it every time they fucking say anything, right? Just being annoying and childish. But oh, there I go, forgetting the fucking thought again. This is why people have scripts and notes and shit, I suppose.
Maybe.
Fuck going on there?
Cops are walking around.
But these right-wing idiots that you point to and hate, why don't you try being better than them? Okay? Try meeting hatred with love. Try meeting each other with love more. You know? What's happened is this problem has gone on so long. Now even white people are divided among themselves. We can't get along with each other. And it's starting to creep up into the black community. There's actually, you know, a growing demographic of black conservatives. All right. You know, you have your financial policy, whatever. You can have your political feelings one way or the other. But try to realize when you're being divided. And try to realize when you're just lacking compassion for the other person's point of view. Now, as you can see by my wife's demeanor, our kids are misbehaving. And we have to go thrash them severely. No, I'm going to go. Make them feel horrible for what they've done by shaming them, because we're verbally manipulative like that. How dare you? All these people, and you couldn't just be quiet for. And you'd be like, I'm sorry, man. That's how they say it. That's how our children apologize. I'm sorry, man. Sorry. They moo like cows at us. It's fucking ridiculous. Alright. So, yeah. Point is, if you don't want to get shot, be polite, be respectful.
And be
if you have a
compliant.
gun, don't reach in your fucking pocket. Keep your hands where the officers can see you. Okay? And if you'd like to actually solve this problem, find ways we can all get along better. And find ways that this community here in Central Baton Rouge can come together and give these fucking kids out there something to do so they grow up outside of this mentality of us or them, us versus them, black versus white. It's a fucking game that they're playing with you. You understand? Thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry, dear. Like, subscribe. Peace. How do I work this camera again?